Welcome to another episode of Soccerheads New England. I'm Dave Rattigan, here with Paul Nardizzi, and we're your hosts today. Some of you may remember that Jim Ruberti is our other host. Paul, do you remember Jim?
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting, Dave. We were supposed to have, it used to be that Jim wouldn't show up, but then he started showing up.
Yeah.
But we did find out he had that other podcast. Well, now this is a new one where Jim's not here and our guest isn't here.
Oh.
You starting to connect the dots?
Yeah.
He's actually doing his cast at the same time with our guest.
You think he is?
This is war.
This is amazing.
I don't know.
That guy's unbelievable.
And this is his favorite player. He was supposed to call. Suddenly he's not. So I don't know.
Jim's not here. He's not here.
Jim's not here. Yeah.
That's I love the conspiratorial nature of your mind.
It wasn't hard, Dave.
All right, check us out at soccerheadsnewengland.com. We have a Facebook page, Soccerheads New England, or email soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. And if you like the podcast, share it. We hear over and over again how popular soccer is. And then I tell people I have a soccer podcast, and there'll be a room of 240 people collectively not caring about my podcast. Have you noticed that, Paul?
I think when you mentioned it in Bedford, I saw some twinkle in some people's eyes.
You saw a twinkle in their eyes?
I did.
All right. Maybe there was. Maybe I just missed the twinkle.
I think you're looking at the wrong people once again.
It could be.
Maybe next time you plug it, you should say, by the way, how many of you plan to listen and see how many hands go up?
All right, I'll do that next time I've got a show. Okay?
I'll do the same thing. All
right. You want to talk about that show that we did up in New Hampshire?
Oh, absolutely.
Up in New Hampshire. Before we get to the soccer, Paul's got one of the funniest things that's happened on a show I've been in recent memory, I thought. Go ahead, Paul. Tell the story.
I'm traveling with Dave to a show. No Jim, no Dale. It's just Dave and I. Way up in New Hampshire.
Was Jim supposed to be at that one?
No, it was just you and I.
Wow, that's unusual for him not to show up at a show that he's not supposed to be showing up for.
Good paying gig.
Yeah.
Good paying gig.
Yeah.
So I get there and been doing it long enough that when I walk in, I see pure hell. I predict pure hell for the evening. And I was not in the mood to eat it. Sometimes you're like, if I eat it tonight, whatever. I had a great set last night. Tomorrow's going to be an easy room. But I was in no mood to eat it when I got there.
Yeah.
So you came in a little bit after me. I said, Dave, this is going to suck.
And there were a couple of reasons why. You want to talk about why?
So first of all, the room is in an L shape.
Yeah.
So the people on one side can't see the other people. That's never good.
Yeah.
Then there's a guy playing music in the other room.
Yep.
I went over to close the door. The door was basically like jail bars, so the music's coming through whether it's open or not.
Yeah.
The sound sucked.
Yeah.
The lights were too bright. Looked like it was noontime.
The evening and the speakers that went on before us, they had a bunch of speakers on before us, and my sense is that had gone on for a while before I arrived, and I was there for a while as well. I think that you and I were in the room I think we were in the room for an hour before we got on, and I think they had started at least an hour before we started. Maybe it was less, but it was a long program. And we were at the end of that hour
is basically, I'll compare it. If you've ever been executed, it's like that hour before you get executed. You know it's coming. Yeah. It's not going to be fun.
One thing I think about whenever I'm waiting on death row, I think to myself, are these people going to be talking like this during my execution? Because they were loud, they were ignoring the other speakers, and it was I had the same. Well, I didn't have to have that thought because you just filled me in when I walked into the room, and you couldn't have been more right because I looked and I had the exact same thought, but I was doing a short set at the beginning, and. All right. So go ahead. So it's you get in. It's a long program. There's no light on the stage. There's mediocre sound, and people talking. Mm-hmm. Did I miss anything?
Yeah. So they were still eating.
Yes.
And they'd already started the speeches.
Yes.
And we know that after eating comes dessert, which is a real plate clanking thing.
Because
people love to clank with their.
They do love to clank, don't they?
Yeah.
And they don't like to turn, and I can't blame them. They're eating their dessert. They don't want to be looking up at us.
Right.
What if they listen to your joke and they're laughing so hard that they choke to death?
Yeah.
That would be, it'd be a good story for you. You'd probably put it on your resume, but overall, probably ruin the evening for that party.
So I swing into action.
Yes,
right?
you did. Yes,
So I
you
immediately
did.
grab a waitress and I said, is dessert coming out? Hoping her answers no. And she thinks I want dessert and goes, oh, yes, it's coming right out. And I was like,
hard-working wait staff.
so then I said, oh, but like it's just going to be a table in the back if people want to go get it. Again, I'm hoping the answer is yes. She goes, no, we're bringing you guys all your own piece of carrot cake. I'm like, okay, this is another problem. So there's a speaker on with a suit, all right, speaking to the crowd. The head table is the Chamber of Commerce we're doing the show for. So I wait for him to finish. I approach him. The next speaker goes up. She's the senator of New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan or something.
Yep. Well, a senator.
Yeah, you know me. I don't follow politics. I know.
Absolutely not, Paul. I know you don't.
I know dead people voted, or we voted for a dead guy. I forget which one. But anyways,
Both.
So I tap him on the shoulder, and I ask him to come here so I can go over the list of problems. And he gives me the finger, like, hold on, like this is important. I need to listen to this. All right, I guess I do too. So I listen to her speak. Then he comes over and he says, sorry about that. I just didn't want to turn my back to the senator. Oh, absolutely. I said, listen, I'm the comedian. I got my other guy here, Dave. We're going to do this show. We gotta get this lights down. It's like broad daylight in here. The carrot cake's coming out. Let's make sure everyone eats it a little bit. And then I'm going to ask him not to clear. I need the sound down. That music guy, we got to turn his voice. And he goes, I'm the governor of New Hampshire. Now, if I was in avoid eat it mode. If I was in comedy mode, if I was up on stage, I would have said, oh, good, then you can probably handle all that for me. But I wasn't. So I was like, oh, sorry, that's embarrassing. And he laughed. He said, it's fine, no problem. So anyways, we proceeded to find someone who would do all this stuff for us. But we were fighting the uphill battle that I knew we were, and it wasn't a great show.
Really? That's how, I love, this is Dale here. I wasn't introduced originally because I guess I don't, have enough credibility to be introduced.
I was just about to introduce you. Paul went off script and talked to you.
I love the inside stuff of comics because it looks so easy, but all the preparation that goes in beforehand just to get someone to laugh.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like you wouldn't. It's more like a theater performance than it is like. I got to tell you this. I have a lot of respect for the bands that play at your corner bar. Mm-hmm. And because they're playing and they're keeping their rhythm and they're remembering the words and everybody's talking in the room, and you can't do comedy that way. So I have a lot of respect for musicians to be able to do it. But when you're a comedian, you need certain things. You need the light, you need the sound, you need attention. You need attention from people. They're not going to laugh.
Did both of you guys bomb or what?
We didn't bomb, but it just wasn't. It wasn't a smooth build up a rhythm. You'd get a big laugh, and then you'd be like, okay, I got them. Do the next joke, which usually gets a good laugh, and you're like, they didn't like that one. Now you feel like you're in a little bit of a hole. You do another one, you get an okay laugh. It was just that type of thing. A lot of big laughs intermingled with stuff that wasn't working as good, intermingled with them talking. It was not fun.
Yeah, they have to be able to hear you. If they don't hear you, they're not going to laugh. And I don't just mean hear. I just mean be able to hear and take it in quickly and process it. Because comedy is reality, twist on reality. And if they don't follow the reality because their neighbors are talking or they're clinking or they're looking down at their food and shoveling in their carrot cake. And by the way, this is the first time that I actually heard that it was carrot cake. And now I'm really disappointed that I didn't have some. Anyway, with us also today is our engineer, Dale Lawrence, a former Marine who once had the chance to kill Vladimir Putin, or a guy who looked like Putin, shopping at a men's store in Moscow. We're not really sure. So, no, Jim, we also we had a guest all lined up and we didn't get him. And we had somebody from the Revs coming on. We haven't heard from him. Maybe we're going to hear from him during the show. Who knows? But looks like we've got shut out again.
Yeah, I can just say it's tied to Jim somehow.
Yeah, probably.
Jim is in Florida.
Yes.
Sending us videos of himself driving on little motorized what's?
That's not motorized.
It isn't?
No. It's a baggage carrier.
How was it going? How was it moving?
It's downhill.
I couldn't see the hill. Okay.
Yeah, he took the baggage carrier to take the luggage out, or the luggage carrier to take the luggage, the little luggage carrier. You wheel it into the hotel, you wheel it back.
The thing that most 55-year-old guys don't ride around in, that thing.
Exactly. You know who likes to ride around on those little children? like children who are just who are just kids who don't have the brain power to know how dangerous they are. And Jim, who basically sits on it, sticks his legs out the side, goes driving around a parking garage.
Because there's never accidents in a parking garage.
Has his wife videotape it, and he's going to be a TikTok star. Yeah. And but yeah, we'll have to try and figure out a way. Can we post that on the site, Dale?
Absolutely, I believe we can. A link to it. Send me the YouTube link, and we'll put it up there.
I don't think we have the YouTube link. I think we just have the actual video.
No, send me the video. I'll put it up on YouTube. Unbeknownst to Jim, he'll be a superstar.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's the best way for Jim to be a superstar.
I'm going to call that
to him.
I'm going to call that hotel and tell them where their missing luggage carrier is, and send him that video.
I got to say, it is kind of too bad. I mean, not that we want Jim to get hurt, but it's really too bad that some Cadillac just didn't come whipping around the other way and wipe him out. That would have been a great video.
What makes you think that the Cadillac would have got the best of it, though?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Probably he had his legs splayed out the side. So given his history as a goalkeeper, probably the Cadillac would have gone between his legs. And we're going to talk, I guess. So now we're going to wing it a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the Revs. We're going to talk about the UAFA. Is that right?
The UEFA, yes. No, I've never heard anyone call it that. Yes, the UEFA. That's better than urethra.
I'm trying to not call it urethra. Urethra, whatever it is. All right, we'll talk about that and whatever else we can think of to talk about in the world of soccer. I got to tell you, frankly, we'll talk about this with the Revs because I have had a thought about the Revs relating to the game, but we'll talk about that. But first, we'll also talk about training soccer players because we've got our new sponsor. We want to plug the new sponsor, but also we might get into a little. So let me get the plugs in. New sponsor, Monster Soccer, founded by Paul Nardizzi, who's right here next to me, now being run by Bryce Nardizzi. This camp will train your soccer player to be better using the same techniques Paul Nardizzi used to develop Bryce, who went on to an excellent college and pro career, as well as Bryce's brothers, who also went on to continue playing soccer in various collegiate levels. So if you want to experience the motivational feeling of your father running behind you with a whip and a chair, the chair is for when Paul gets tired, Dale, and the whip is for you, the player. Actually, you never used the whip on anyone besides your kids, did you?
No, but when I think back, I probably, instead of jogging behind him, should have got Jim to hook that luggage carrier up. I could have just, rode behind them.
Frank should buy himself a luggage carrier, put Jim on there, and just have players kind of drag Jim along for speed work. That's an excellent. You're a thinker. Mm-hmm. You're a thinker. That's why they need you on that executive board. Yep. If I want to sign up for Monster Soccer, how do I sign up? We'll dub in a number. But Monster Soccer, check it out on Facebook, check it out online, and we'll come up with a number.
I have the number handy here.
Oh.
I apologize. I was slow. It's 508-308-4109.
Beautiful. Now I've got another phone number for you for another sponsor, financial advisor Rick Spencer. You remember him, Paul?
Yeah. You know what I just want to suggest? If you're going to read the copy for Monster every week, you should have similar to the thing. If it wasn't for Monster Soccer, I would still be...
Oh, good point. All right.
Kicking a grapefruit around and firing it into the wrong, like you do with this guy. So you can work on that.
All right, I'll work on that.
Okay. Not this week.
I don't know if you realize this, but the actual joke is about you training your kids in soccer.
I know, but it's you. This is a you thing.
It's a you thing? All right, fine. Anyway, Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. Also, Rick's number 978-857-7573. Rick speaks at free seminars for soccer clubs, etc., and he'll help get your kid into college. Rick's also my financial advisor. And Paul, I can't say it's made me wealthy, but every time I'm enjoying a beverage at a marina and I spy a lovely lady, I have learned to say, "Can you guess which one's mine?" as I look over the boats. Have Rick come speak to your group or to check out one of his free seminars, call him at 978-857-7573. That's actually a real line that one of my friends used to say.
And none of them were his.
No, none of them were. None of them were. Hey, can you guess which one's mine? And if they would laugh, there'd be a pleasant conversation until eventually he'd say something they wouldn't like and then walk away. Here's a new idea in fundraising, a Soccerheads Comedy Night, better than a stand-up show. It's an event that your community will never forget with soccer-themed humor, 3 great comedians and giveaways and all kinds of other extras. Want to make money and have fun? email Jim Ruberti at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. He'll get off of his luggage cart and respond right away. Now this brings us to, let me ask you about Monster Soccer, because you trained your kids to play soccer, which, all kidding aside, they went on to have a pretty good career. They all seem to like soccer. I've been at your house. They seem to like you still, which is a little bit amazing to us who know you. And how did you train them, and how does your theory on training differ from other people?
Okay, so first of all, I didn't do it with the intention of I never said, if we do this enough, you can play pro or you can play college. It was never mentioned.
It was never mentioned.
I don't think it's a good idea to mention it. I don't think you want to set goals like that. You want them to just have fun. And I would say it's more fun when you're good. You go out on the Saturday and you score a couple of goals. So let's just get better at the game. But if you ever want to stop or you want to do something else, do it. Just be good at it. Just work at it. So that was never the goal.
Okay.
But what I felt was, as a player, I kind of felt like I was missing certain things. So I wanted them to have certain parts to the game that I didn't have.
Things that you didn't have.
Like things that I struggled
common
with.
Common sense.
Things that I struggled with.
All right.
So I try to base it around that a little bit. So initially it was just a lot of footwork. Down the basement, we didn't have a lot of room. So it was a lot of footwork. And then when my son brought that book home, The Talent Code, and I read it, it kind of said, if you're succeeding at all the training that you're doing, it's not hard enough. It has to be hard. You have to fail a lot when you train.
Sure.
So then I sort of tweaked it a lot so that there was a lot more hard things, like you're blindfolded when the ball's coming to you, or I'm using tiny, like golf balls sometimes, and I'm making them.
You blindfold them when the ball's coming to you?
Well, with those glasses.
So, Dell, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing he blindfolds his kids.
And he's whipping balls at their heads.
Whipping balls. Header.
So today we're going to work on concussions.
Well, I think that's a common technique. I had a Asian martial arts instructor who...
You could have just said martial arts instructor.
Okay.
We would have went there.
All right.
We would have gone there.
Who we used to blindfold. He'd blindfold me and he'd teach me how to hit a speed bag, focus mitts with your eyes closed, because it enhances your instinct to react without seeing it.
Yeah. All right. So that's when you're hitting a speed bag because you know how it's going to respond.
You just understand the rhythm of something.
Yeah.
You let your instinct control your mind instead of your visual sight control your mind. Let your instinct. So Paul's right on. Monster Soccer is right on, because my Asian martial arts instructor taught me that.
Okay.
The original logo, actually.
And you know he was good because he was Asian.
Yes. He had no competition from anyone else. So the original logo for Monster Soccer was actually half. So it was ugly. I didn't like it, but it was a head where half of it was the brain, half was a soccer ball.
Okay.
We're basically trying to train your brain. So when I say blindfolded, I mean you're wearing glasses where it's dark, and the ball's coming to you, then it's light for a couple seconds, then it's dark again.
Oh, yeah. You talked about this last week. Yeah.
Teaching the brain to anticipate.
Okay.
But like an example of like a drill would be, you'd roll a ball to someone really fast, and you'd ask them to do the move with the ball coming to them without stopping the ball first, which you would never do in a game.
Yeah.
If you tried to do an elastico, which is where you take your foot and you sweep the ball around, if you did that when the ball was rolling at you, your coach would be like, get off the field. Like, you can't be taking chances like that. Thing could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you practice it when it's rolling at you and you're in a game and it's not rolling, you're more confident, I can pull this move off.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of stuff like that. We just really focused on moves and footwork. And I started to notice they played a little differently than their teammates who weren't doing a lot of this stuff. So we just kept at it for, a good 6-7 years.
And it worked out.
Bryce is now taking it over, but Bryce has tweaked it too. Bryce wants them to understand how to play more. So he's trying to teach them in a model of soccer, little groups. So
I think Ray Bork did a lot of that stuff when he was developing different sport, different exercises, but I think he did a lot of that, work on the individual thing,
Yeah.
Which, they do it in baseball. They do it I'm sure they do it in probably all sports.
Yeah, Gretzky too. He used to do tennis ball around cones the whole off season on pavement.
Really?
I remember reading about that. So we would dribble around with soccer ball, do figure eights, a lot of figure eights.
Okay, and the idea of that is obviously controlling a tennis ball is a lot more difficult than controlling a soccer ball.
Yeah.
All right. How's he doing with it?
He just actually had his first group session last Friday night. A group of about 8 or 10 people. Kind of field that he rented. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You rented a field? Mm-hmm. How much did it cost to rent a field?
It was $90 for the turf, I think, and 60 for grass. So we got the turf. Keep the parents happy.
Well, the turf's never going to get, you got a truer bounce. You're never going to get, well, you're not going to get rained out as frequently. And so when you started this, did you start the idea of monster soccer? Was that your title? Did you think to yourself, I don't want to be like monster.com or Monster Tree Service or what's the other one? I know I'm forgetting one of them.
Monster Energy Drink?
Monster Energy Drink. I don't want to be like any of these. I want to really stand out, so I'm going to call it Monster Soccer. Was that what you're thinking was on that?
It wasn't my idea. I trained my kids. Then I was coaching for a club called Stars. And Sean McDonough was my boss. And he said, why don't you start training some of the better players there?
Sean McDonough, the famous Sean McDonough or the other Sean McDonough?
Not the famous.
Okay.
And he said, let's call it Monster Soccer.
Okay. So it wasn't like somebody turning to you and saying, Dad, you're a monster. He's saying, that's a great name for the training, son. That's enough about the training. What do you think the kids miss? I mean, when you look at kids who are, let's say, collegiate players, they've been through the club programs, they've been through the town programs, they've been through the high school programs, they've been through the camps. And you see them playing, and they're good enough to play college, so they're good players. What do you look at and think, this player could have learned this, should have learned this by the time they get to college?
The foot skills. I think America doesn't focus enough on futsal like they do in Europe. So if you look at any list of top 50, 75 players, and there's no U.S. guys on there. Maybe if you get to the 75th around there, but the top 25, 30, 40, they're all from Europe, and they play futsal all the time.
Right.
And there are great players who say, if I didn't play futsal, I wouldn't be where I was when I played for Barcelona or, in the 2010 to 2015. It was my futsal background that allowed me to get into the academy. I don't think we focus on it enough. I know you're not big on futsal, maybe you're not, but it is a great game. So what I was just talking about with foot skills that I train,
yeah.
Futsal, if you're not going to do my training and you do futsal, you're kind of getting that.
Okay.
Because you have to use your feet in that game a lot more than outdoor.
All right, let me just ask this question that Dale's wondering.
Yes.
And I'm wondering. In fact, everyone in the room is wondering, except for you. What's futsal?
It's a game on a hard court, 4-on-4 with a goalie, and the ball's hard.
Or indoor soccer.
And you use the bottom of your foot. You wear sneakers, you don't wear cleats.
Oh, okay.
And you use the bottom of your foot a lot.
All right.
To roll it, different ways. And it's...
And the ball's solid, hard?
You hit someone in the head with that, it's a lot worse of a concussion than a soccer ball.
Okay. So is the idea not to hit him in the head or to hit the opposition in the head?
You can toe blast that thing and hit the goalie in the head quite often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're supposed to toe blast. The goalie's supposed to save it. But yeah, if it hits him in the head, that's not your problem. I don't care about the goalies. That's you and Jim's territory. It's a great game. It really is. It's fast. It's physical. It's great.
So how is futsal different than indoor soccer?
So no boards. When the ball goes out, you just play it back in, put it down and play it back in. Indoor soccer uses a real soccer ball.
Yeah.
It's bigger, so there's more space.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
But indoor soccer is still, it's much more about skills and quickness than it is about flat out speed.
Yes.
And probably strength, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that regard, it's similar.
Okay, but obviously with futsal, you can play it anywhere. You don't have to put it in a rink, so therefore your cost is lower. You can do it in a gym, which is probably cheaper to get a hold of and easier to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you this. The book I mentioned, The Talent Code.
Yep.
The guy went around the world to study why people are good at things. That was the premise of the book. So, for example, why were all the good skateboarders in L.A. in the 70s and 80s?
Okay.
And the reason he determined was because there's a lot of swimming pools. There was a recession. Those pools were empty, and those guys were skating inside the pools. No one else in the world was doing it. They acquired more skill, and they won all the world medals. So for soccer, he had to go all the way back to Brazil, which won all the World Cups early on, like in the 70s. They were the country playing the most futsal. And because it's compact and you have to think quick, they had better feet, and then they showed up at the world stage, and they won all of their trophies.
This is that's an interesting theory. Have you read Outliers?
It's a similar book to
Malcolm
that.
Gladwell?
Yeah.
Okay. And Gladwell's thing is hours spent. At a certain age, like in the young teenage to early 20s,
Yeah.
spending, like, he had a number.
10,000.
10,000.
10,000 hour rule. Yeah.
10,000 hours. The Beatles played that much when they played
They just didn't practice their writing, but yeah, the Beatles played that much.
The Beatles were an awfully good band. I don't know if you, I know you don't agree with me, but I'll go with all the music experts. But the Beatles, Bill Gates had something like 10,000 hours because he had access to a computer that other people didn't have because of his high school. Do you think this applies to soccer? I mean, this plays into the theory that you should only play soccer and you should only play soccer and you should only play soccer. One of the other things about foot skills is that a lot of other countries, they don't have options. The only sport they've got is soccer. Maybe they've got one other. And they don't have organized leagues, or not like we do here. They have pickup games. So is a pickup game better for a kid than, say you're in a tournament team and you're going to meet at the tournament, you're going to drive an hour, and then you're going to warm up for an hour, then you're going to play the game, and then you're going to drive home, and it's a full day thing with the whole family for 90 minutes of play. Is that better or worse than playing against players of all ages down the park with a group of people who can play?
Well, ultimately, you're going to have to play the best to find out where you stand. But if you're talking about on a daily basis, absolutely, you want to play the pickup game and get those hours in.
Yeah.
Like you just said, you're in the car for 2 hours. That doesn't count towards your 10,000 hours.
Right.
If you want to count it, go ahead. But yeah, the 10,000 hour rule applies to soccer, absolutely.
And yet there are other people, Jeff Lorenovitz, he was on the show, and he said you should play a lot of different sports. And there is that theory that what you learn in one sport, the competitiveness will carry over to the next. Hand-eye from hockey is great for baseball and vice versa.
I think he's an outlier, and I'm impressed with him and, the center back that played on that team, Michael Parkhurst.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
He was on Atlanta when they both won the title.
Okay.
He came to a camp my son was at. He didn't start playing soccer till he was like 16. I mean, at least Lorenowitz played as a kid. 16 years old, ended up on the national team. But that doesn't happen all the time. I wouldn't recommend, if your goal is to play Division I college soccer, I would not just say, well, those two said that it's not a big deal. They had the perfect body and speed and everything else, but you got to put the hours in to get there. 99 out of 100 have to put the hours in.
All right, so you're saying that playing one sport, you favor playing one sport over playing three sports?
If that's your goal, yes. There aren't enough hours in the week to practice and play all those other sports.
There's another great athlete who started in soccer, who wound up playing basketball, picked it up late. Patrick Ewing.
I think it's Akeem Olajuwon.
Was it Akeem or was it Patrick Ewing? I thought Melvin.
Akeem definitely played soccer.
Okay. I think Patrick Ewing played in Jamaica.
Really?
Growing up. I think he was a soccer goalie.
Goalie. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Akeem, I think I was a player, like a field player.
I think if you looked at Patrick Ewing, you would say, I think we'll put him in goal. Remember, Patrick, play big. Play big. All right, speaking of goalies, this gets me back to the goalie thing. Revolution tied last weekend. It was the tie that I guess felt like a loss for people because they gave up a late goal. I saw the goal on the highlights. And it's an interesting thing because the Bruins, again, comparison, the Bruins to the Bruins goaltending situation is similar. They had Patrick Swayman, who was great for a period of the year and not so great down the stretch.
I don't follow the Bruins, but Is that his first name?
What's that?
Is that his first name?
Oh, is it Jeremy Swayman?
Okay, that's what I
Sorry,
thought. It didn't sound
I think
right.
Patrick Swayman. I don't know where I got that from.
You're thinking of Patrick Swayze.
Maybe. Who knows what I'm thinking of? You know what I mean?
Is there a ghost question coming up next?
Huh?
The movie Ghost?
No. I guess the question is the Bruins switch goalies after the first two games of their Stanley Cup Final Series, and it seemed to me like watching the game, the goalie, they had defensive breakdowns, but the goalie didn't save them. They didn't bail you out. And a good goalie knows that sometimes the defense makes a mistake, you've got to bail them out. The other team gets a great chance, and you've just got to stop it, period. And vice versa, when you give up a soft goal or something, it's whatever, fluky, puck luck. Same thing, obviously, in soccer. Any goaltender knows that he's going to make some stops. It seems like what's happening now with the Revs, and you probably know better than me, it just seems like, yes, they've got defensive breakdowns, but then they don't have the keeper bailing them out, which seems to be just the case. And are we just going to sit here until Turner returns, and then he's going to save us, and then he's going to leave again?
Well, he's returned. He played the last two games. So they won last week.
Here goes my whole argument. I thought they had a different keeper on Saturday.
Well, they have. No, they won last week with him.
Yeah.
Then they gave up 2 more goals this week with him.
So my whole argument stinks.
Not really, no, because I don't know that he's making those saves where you see the shot go off the foot and you're like, that's a goal when you're watching it. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it's not a goal.
Right.
Those are the ones, like you just said, that lift you.
Yep.
You realize they're going to have to hit this thing at 80, 90 miles an hour, 3 feet away to beat him. And you feel confident. I don't think they're getting those saves anymore.
Yeah.
He's coming off an injury, but he was so hot at one point, and I think now he's very good, but we're not seeing that.
So is that their biggest problem right now? It's, if your keeper's not great, your defense is going to get exposed if your defense is, let's say, weak.
I can tell you this. I didn't watch the game.
Okay.
I had a show. I was doing a little comedy there, Dale.
Yeah, but,
There you go. Fox and the Hound, right?
I always do my...
he had 2 shows. He's being modest. He had 2.
Yeah, 2 shows, yeah.
One in Haverhill, and he turns around and drives all the way to Quincy for the second one.
Fox and the Hound, right? Is that where it's at?
In Quincy.
Fox and Hound, yeah.
Yeah. I know his schedule.
You do.
Well, I mean, I'm on Facebook, and
Where was the one in Haverhill?
comedy.
Where was the one in Haverhill?
I didn't see that one in Haverhill. I didn't see it, to be honest.
All right. Anyway, back to this.
So, I read up on the game, and so they have given up a league-high 8 goals in the last 20 minutes.
Is that fitness or is that something else?
Well, you and Jim would say it's because they didn't have their clutch goalie in the first however many games. But now we can throw that out a little bit because they just gave up a goal in the last 20 minutes.
He's coming off an injury.
Okay. So what happened in this game, MLS Matt Doyle, a writer I've quoted on him many times, has been pining away every week. Why don't you play a 3-5-2? You have the personnel for a 3-5-2. You don't have wingers play this formation. So yesterday, he writes, they finally listened and played a 3-5-2. I think he switched around halftime or 20 minutes in. He said the Revs dominated. He says it fits Carlos Hill perfectly. He's got 2 bodyguards on each side of him. They have 2 forwards. They don't have wings because they don't even have any wings. Well, they do have one coming. We're waiting for his visa to come through. So anyways, after they went up 2-1, dominating the game, a lot of coaches would say, let's just keep doing this and ride it out. Yeah. But what Arena said is, I'm going to go back to the 4-2-3-1 and play with 4 defenders instead of 3. And that's when the game flipped again and they gave up the goal.
Why do you think it? Oh, you don't know.
Well, Arena just said that's common sense. You're going to add a defender when you're trying to protect. This guy, Matt Doyle, said, again, it doesn't fit your personnel. I would just stay with that 3-5-2 and just play that way all the time. I trust him. I trust both of them. I mean, Arena's done his thing. Based on how this season's going, I trust Matt Doyle. I would just ride the 3-5-2.
It's fascinating to me, given Arena's history, that they've stumbled the way that they have out of the gate. I mean, given the fact that he came in, they got better. Then last year they were historically good. It's just obviously sometimes you have the hangover effect of a championship. Though obviously it was a championship in some ways because they had the league,
the shield they call it,
shield. Yeah, the league. They were the league best in the regular season. Which, all right. So how about the UEFA?
So Jim predicted Real Madrid was going to get to the final.
Oh, this is the thing you guys were texting about.
I had Man City.
It's amazing how much soccer you can watch when you don't have a job. And you don't do anything all day. Or in Jim's case, when you have a job and you just ignore all of your responsibilities to watch soccer. It's amazing. I get these texts, Dale. They go back and forth with nonsense about soccer. And it's whatever. Real Madrid does this and you probably get the thread. And I just look at the thread and I'm like,
I'm retired. I can listen to it all day. I don't have to be anywhere. No one's counting on me to.
Can I kick him off this thread and put you on
Put me on. I'm retired.
Do that. Oh, by all means. I mean, just
who needs electricity down at the Cape when Jim's working? No one.
I can tell you this: if anything happens, if there's ever an emergency relating to power down in that area, in Jim's area, they better hope that it happens at halftime. Because otherwise, it's not getting addressed.
Right.
It's like the guy's never heard of video recording. All right, go ahead. Well, so what were you saying?
So Jim's team advanced over my team.
Okay. Which was his team and which was yours again?
I'm a Man City guy.
Oh, that's right. And he was a Real Madrid.
Well, he predicted that. I don't know that he roots for Real Madrid. I hope he does, and I'll slap him.
Yeah. No, I think he's slap him anyway.
Rival. So what happened was they were up 2 goals late in the game, and Real Madrid has been doing this the whole tournament when they just clutch up. So late in the game, they scored like 2 goals in a matter of 4 minutes and just crushed my day.
Ruined your day.
Ruined my day. But
let me ask you this question, Paul. What time of day was this match?
Talking 3 to 5 p.m. But it went a little longer because it went into overtime.
Extra time?
No, not extra time. Overtime.
Overtime.
Yeah.
Okay. So it crushed your day. Did it force you to go outside, or did you just flick to another game?
I think I felt
FS1?
fresh air coming in because I punched a hole in the wall, but I don't think I actually went outside.
Wow.
It was devastating.
Those steel.
It happened so quick, Dave.
I bet those walls are reinforced by steel. You punch right through it, did you?
But let me say this, okay? You know I'm huge on the MLS finally winning CONCACAF.
Yeah.
So that night, Seattle at least made up for it by going out and beating the team that knocked the Revs out.
That was a great game. That was
crushed them.
Yeah.
So that at least gave me a little bit of, I patched the wall up and I went to bed. Did you see how dirty that other team played?
I've seen a lot of dirty soccer. I got to tell you this, though. Since I've been doing this with you guys, this podcast, I've gained more respect for the referees because
that's really hard. I know. That's a hard job.
They're so good at spotting all the diving, all the fake stuff. I mean, we joke about it, but you'll see the guy go down and it's like they've not only did the two players go for a ball, one of them gets their ankle clipped. I get it that it hurts. I get it that it hurts because it's your shin, it's your small bones. They're going at a fast speed, so I get that it hurts. But one of them goes down, and it's like they didn't just kill him, but they killed his entire family. He screams and he's on the ground and it's horrible, and the ref just ignores it. And I think it's one of the best. I've developed a better appreciation for the referees.
Do I have to defend soccer again? Is that what
No, you don't have to defend soccer. You can say you're right.
When you shoot in hockey,
yeah,
or when you shoot in basketball, or when you swing the stupid golf club,
are we going to talk about Patrice Bergeron again?
No.
Patrice Bergeron nearly loses an eye. Right, he gets a stick in the eye, blood gushing out of the eye or out of the face near the eye. Skates straight to the bench. He's a Bruins captain. He goes straight to the bench and basically, I believe he's probably asking them, "Quick! I need a bucket. My eye's going to fall out, and we need to put it somewhere so I can finish the game." Doesn't go down the ice. Doesn't cry about it. I know that there is some drawing of penalties in hockey, but nothing like soccer.
Every sport, you're on 2 feet when you're doing your action.
Yes.
In soccer, you're on 1. That's the thing. We get a bad rap. We get a worse rap than the cops over here with Dale. Right?
Oh, thank you.
We're on 1 leg, Dave. You can't dribble, shoot, or pass on 2 legs. You have to be on 1. So yes, you go down easier. That's just.
What do you mean? What do you mean you're on 1 leg?
You have to pick one up to do the task.
Okay.
You don't have to do that in hockey and baseball and basketball. You can be on 2 feet and shoot. You're on 1 leg all the time. You have 50% of the balance of every other athlete.
All right.
So yeah, you're gonna. I see soccer players all the time with their head wrapped, bleeding. Why do you want to make Bergeron like he's the only guy who ever played bloody? Everybody plays bloody.
Everybody in the NHL does, because the typical NHL player gets hit. I get it. There are some that dive, but there are also a lot of them that just don't die. They don't kill that lily. They just get back into the play and they go.
Killed that lily. We're going. What are we doing? Poetry over here?
Who is this guy?
Who's this? Who?
Let's put out a help wanted for a new soccer podcast host.
The referees do have a dangerous job, though. The fans are hostile. I do give them. It's the third most dangerous dangerous job in the world. We have cops over here. Number 1, comedians. Number 2, we're under attack.
we are under attack. Never have I seen somebody try to curry favor with his audience quite as blatantly as you just did, trying to sway Dale. The cops have a very difficult job. Not all cops. Dale spent the majority of his 30-year career, 29 years of it, behind a desk.
Or in a cruiser, or on my couch at my house with my radio on.
I respect them, man. I respect them.
There you go. Fist pump if you didn't see that.
We've reached a point where there are 2 sides to everything, right? Have you noticed this? Like when we woke up after the Will Smith thing, I think we all said, that was pretty bad, Will. And then you go on Facebook and they say, whose side are you on? And you go, we're taking sides? There's 2... But I realize this it doesn't matter what you do. This did not exist 60 years ago. Nobody said, so who do you think was wrong yesterday, Oswald or Kennedy? That didn't happen. We're living in new times. So have you been attacked yet?
I have not been attacked yet.
I tell the audience now, I do. When I go up, I say, listen, if you disagree with something, punch me after the show. I want to finish my set. Do not punch me on this stage. And I'm not even kidding. I know some of you are going to get pissed.
That's good. That's good advice for the audience.
I feel like it helps to prevent that by saying that. I really do.
I used to use that technique with people in law enforcement on a call. You just kind of take away the play from them because you let them know that they might want to assault you. But if you're going to do it, please do it after I'm done.
Oh, that's interesting. I did the thing at the show you were at Dale, where I basically told the audience at the beginning of the show when I'm bringing the comics up. I said, I just want you to know if anybody wants to run the stage, one of the guys is a trained boxer. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, and it's not me, but I'm the one paying the trained boxer. So you don't want to punch me either. And it's a whole different world. Yeah. Yeah. Who's correct? The person who used violence or the person that used very mild words? Oh, Chris Rock was wrong for telling that joke. It's like, please.
The latest is that they are now getting divorced. I heard that this weekend.
Yeah. Well, that was the upshot of it to me was that this was a guy who was in trouble. Maybe it was, again, you don't know what goes on in a marriage. But I would say when you've got something like that, the grand gestures, I had somebody say this about people who renew their vows. Have you renewed your vows?
No, but I've been to those ceremonies. Yeah.
You have been? Have you renewed your vows?
I never even married my wife. We've just been living together for 30 years.
Does she ever?
No, I never have.
I never married my wife.
I never married my wife.
Words.
Common law. She doesn't even have her green card yet. Anyway, somebody who a justice of the peace who did these said a lot of times when you've got somebody who's renewing their vows, it's because there's been problems in the relationship. And so you see the grand gesture, it's because they want to bring it back to where it was. Obviously, nothing's a grander gesture than getting up at an awards ceremony, punching the comedian who said something only that no reasonable person would object to, and then sat down and proceeded to fire off a bunch of bad words in front of the entire audience. I got to say, the real winner of that was probably the Emmys, because everybody will be turning in next year to see who punches who.
Yeah.
So I think there'll even be prop bets on that. Anyway, anything else about soccer? Anything else we want to talk about?
So the Revs got knocked out of the CONCACAF.
Yep.
And let's face it, they're not going to win the Shield.
Right.
They're off to a bad start. I'm actually not as in bad shape as I thought. They're like just below the playoff line by 3 points.
Okay.
So despite this horribleness, I guess some other teams are.
That's a long season.
Yeah. But anyways, Wednesday, they're in the Open Cup, which I forgot. If you win the Open Cup, you're back in CONCACAF. So this is a big game.
Goodness.
This is a big game.
Thank goodness. Who's the Open Cup match against?
They're playing Cincinnati. Remember Noonan? He used to play for the Revs?
Yeah.
So since he was an expansion team 3 years ago, and they've been a disaster. But he has them playing really well.
Okay.
I knew he would be a good coach. He's a smart player.
How do you know he's going to be a good coach?
You just can tell. Some people are organized, Like did I not pick out that kid's position that day? I know a little bit about soccer, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. You know a little bit.
I know you think
soccer.
I talked to him outside and got that. I did not. That was straight out. I knew what he played.
Trust me. Don't accuse me of that, because I want you to know, not only do I know you know a little bit about soccer, but I've been asked by people about how much you know, and I tell them a little bit. A little bit.
Okay, well, I knew that Noonan would be a good coach.
All right. You ever look at a coach and say or a player and say he's going to be a great coach, and then he comes out and you don't think he's been?
Have I been wrong? In other words, yeah.
Have you ever been wrong?
I've been wrong a couple of times.
Yeah. All right. You don't want to name names.
I was wrong about Man City. Okay. I mean, I had them going all the way. That's
a prediction on a game. I mean, a soccer. Am I correct to say that a soccer game can really turn on the soccer version of puck luck, where you get one good bounce, you get one fortuitous goal?
Absolutely.
And it's a low-scoring game, so 1-0 is insurmountable.
Yes.
I mean, not for the Revs.
More so than other sports.
Yeah.
Like basketball, one basket doesn't matter.
Right.
Baseball, one run a lot of times. But yeah, soccer, hockey to an extent, and football, a touchdown can be huge. But
hockey and football are almost, I wouldn't say entirely because of injury, but you can look, and particularly the NHL, you watch as the Stanley Cup playoffs progress, players drop out and drop out and drop out. Now, Charlie McAvoy's got COVID, which is the whole new thing that all sports have got to deal with. But you've got hockey, you've got players. I mean, it's not the Bruins aren't in the Stanley Cup Finals if Patrice Bergeron is not playing with some kind of an injury that would put you and me into the ICU. Mm-hmm. And I think for soccer, it seems like, I don't know, our injury is as big a deal in soccer, we should go forward. I mean, the NFL, you get into December, and if you look like a MASH unit, then you might not have, and it depends on who you lose. But, there was Kansas City, their offensive line was decimated one year. They had advanced. They get to the finals they get to the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay.
They got destroyed.
Yeah. So I don't think that happens as much in soccer, because it's just not as rough a game. It's more like a basketball or a baseball where it can happen, but less likelihood. It's not a collision sport.
But when you do get injuries, and if you don't have a deep team, then it's going to affect you.
Okay.
So Man City's a good example. So Man City was in that game against Real Madrid.
Yep.
Kyle Walker is the fastest player in the Premier League, and he's covering Real Madrid's speedy Brazilian winger. And he was doing a pretty good job on him. Then he gets hurt. They had to make a sub. And they had to basically take their left back, move him to the right, put someone over here. All of a sudden, 2 goals come from which side? Where Kyle Walker was. And remember that name, because Kyle Walker's going to be covering Pulisic in that England-U.S. World Cup game.
He's going to be covering,
I think
Pulisic?
Pulisic is going to have a brutal game.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Walker's an animal. So, injuries matter for sure.
We'll look forward to that.
That's going to be the most watched game in soccer history. That's the prediction.
Really?
You're going to watch. Dale's going to watch.
I'll be there, baby. I'll be there.
In front of your TV?
In front of someone's TV.
I think you should drive down to the Cape. You should sit with Jim. Jim will be working. So the TV will be on at his house. You could sit next to Jim, enjoy the game. I'm sure he's got a feast.
Oh, absolutely.
Fish and loaves for you. And people will be calling saying, hey, my power's out, my power's out, my power's out. And it'll be going straight to voicemail. All right, we got our story from the wide world of soccer news. And before we do this, Paul, let me ask you this question. Just a little quiz question for you. I just want to test your memory. Mm-hmm. You ready?
Yeah.
We have a third co-host on this show. His name is Jim Blank. Do you know that? Jim Blank, Paul.
It's I know he played goalie. I remember seeing him on the list of all-time save leaders or something. Mm-hmm. And it's like
UMass Boston?
Ruberti or something like that. Ruberti.
I
think you called him Roberto one week.
I think I did call him Roberto one week.
Jim Ruberti, yes.
Jim Ruberti. That is correct, Paul. What's our story from the wide of soccer?
Well, it's kind of a throwback to another story. So you remember the story about the Malian ref with the diarrhea that ran off the field? And
I remember that one? Yeah.
Didn't allow the game to finish?
Yep.
Okay, well, this is about not finishing, okay, which you're probably an expert on. Apparently, since this story came out, this has been happening all over the place. People are starting to take a cue from the Malian ref. They're walking off the field.
Okay.
I actually got a call, by the way, from a few other outlets and said they couldn't find that story, and they kind of gave me kudos for that scoop.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah. I said, I appreciate if you didn't use the word scoop when we're talking about diarrhea. I'm eating dinner over here. But anyways, we had a ref walk off the field because his wife was giving birth with 15 minutes left in the game.
15 minutes left, and he left to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, I don't know much about childbirth, but, can you just push it back up and wait till he gets there in a half an hour or not?
What's the difference? The child's going to be born. The child's going to be born whether you're there or not. It's going to be, what does the father do other than greet the baby when he enters the world? My daughter doesn't remember that. If you ask my daughter, I remember her coming out. It was a wonderful moment for me. Mm-hmm. But if I was reffing a soccer game, it's like 15 minutes later. I could have seen her later on when she was all
cleaned up and looking good.
Yeah, cleaned up and her head wasn't as suctiony.
Yeah. As we head towards the World Cup, okay, and we're an underdog. We need all the soccer we can get. We're losing soccer. You chop 15 minutes off here, a half over here. We're not getting the footwork we need.
Good point.
How are we going to get better?
I know, foosball.
Futsal.
Foosball. I played that in college, I was excellent at it.
Really?
Yeah, whenever I had a test, I would stay up all night playing foosball.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's sort of a PSA that I think these refs need to forget about what the Malian guy did. That was wrong. Finish the game. These people are walking off the job, and they're getting paid for these games. Well, we have a ref shortage.
Well, All right, but the guy who left for the birth of his baby, wimp. The baby's never going to remember it, and if they do remember it, it's like, who wants to come out into the world, and the first thing they see is a guy in a zebra suit
who doesn't complete the task.
Yes,
right. That's the lesson you're teaching the kid.
Yeah, you got to follow.
You're a
through.
slacker.
All right, that's it for this episode of Soccerheads New England. We'll be back next week. Thanks to
With
our
Jim, hopefully.
Who?
Jim, hopefully.
Thanks to Monster Soccer, our sponsor, our new sponsor. I'd also like to thank financial advisor Rick Spencer. Call him at 978-857-7573, and soon you too will live like Jim Ruberti, always on vacation and never at his podcast. Don't forget, for fundraising, the Soccerheads Comedy Night for your team, league, club, or whatever. The Soccerheads will make your fundraiser more than a show. We'll make it an experience. For Paul Nardizzi and Dave Rattigan and our engineer, Dale Lawrence, this has been Soccerheads New England. Please like us. Please share us. Thank you for listening.